We are rooted in our community. Streamers and creators, they are our trunk. Those of us who follow loyally are the limbs and branches. The saying root and branch is defined as entirely or wholly, which is why I chose this name for my new platform. For the streamers and creators that will be my guests are 100% in on making a change, speaking their minds, and expanding others. Welcome to Root and Branch. Hi, everybody! How the hell are ya? All these people came. Aw, even Puck came in. I got Lady Di and Cadence and Ox and Ollie, and I don't know, there's a lot of you. But thank you all for showing up. I really appreciate it. You know, I appreciate your support. And if we're all ready, we'll get going here. And we'll bring in our first guest. And that would be Miss Purple.
Hello.
How are you?
Doing okay.
Good, good. Purple and I got a little almost messed up on times and such. So luckily she was available because she almost had to do it next week. And
next week.
Yeah, I screwed up. I thought we had a total miscommunication. So thank you for coming in at short notice. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, it's okay. I was afraid I might have had to be going up and dealing with family stuff today, but it turned out that I was able to get out of it. So
B-win. It's a B-win. Well, excellent. Okay, so this is what I always do, Purple. I always ask people about their childhood dynamic and siblings and how you grew up kind of thing, just to get like a feeling for where you came from.
Well, I was the youngest of 9, plus we took in 4 foster kids while I was growing up.
Oh, I didn't know it was that many. Holy crap. Interesting.
Well, my dad was, from one of the old farm families that basically you had as many kids as possible. There were 12 in his family.
Wow. Yeah, that's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
so where were you in the lineup of children?
I was the youngest one altogether.
Oh, okay. Wow, okay. So how were you when they brought the foster kids in?
Yeah, they came in when, at various ages. Most of them were with us a few years.
That's awesome. That must be a lot of love that you can give. Like I say, my brother has like 8 foster kids at any given time, and he's adopting 4 of them, him and his wife. And I'm like, that's a lot of love to give. Like really, in their 60s doing that shit. It's crazy. So,
well, basically my dad always had the attitude of, we can find a way to feed one more, but as far as a lot of love to give, I actually feel I very much grew up neglected.
Really?
And I think mostly what was going on was everyone always assumed somebody was watching me, so no one actually was.
Oh, because there was just so many of you.
Yeah, I just literally got lost in the shuffle on a regular basis.
Oh, wow, that's interesting. So did you do like the regular high school move out thing, or how did all that go?
Well, when I finished high school, I lived with my sister and her husband for a year to go to technical college that I took computer programming. But that was back in the 80s, so anything I know about computers is so badly outdated as to be completely useless.
Well, we will talk about that later, because I actually have found recently that that's untrue. Because actually the military is hiring people that know the old systems.
Well, I
which
learned
is bizarre to me,
on the UNIVAC 9030 mainframes.
Oh, shit.
And, it gets even better. Ours was the first class at that school to use the new desktop editors that took the 8-inch floppy disk. We did our first 2 units on punch cards.
Oh. Wow. That's crazy. It's hard for me to fathom that, Purple, because I don't know. I mean, I know about how old you are within like a year or two, but you just don't seem that old, because you always got a little spunk going. So it's hard for me to picture you doing that old of, computer programming. So what brought you into doing computer? Was there something that you were like, oh, I just want to do this, that kind of drew you to it as a kid, or?
It seemed interesting. It seemed a new thing, and but mostly it was the idea of just trying to find some kind of career that I thought was going to be going somewhere. Just even in the 80s, there were like so many businesses going overseas and things that, a lot of jobs just were drying up, and I wanted to make sure I had something that there'd be a position for in the future.
Right.
Unfortunately, it wound up just being so bloody boring, I couldn't continue doing it. I did computer operations for about 5 years, and I was like, all I'm doing is babysitting a machine and like giving it another box of paper when the printer runs out. It was just so dull. I just couldn't keep up with it. So I gave it up and I went back to doing, just general home repairs. And so for most of my life, I've just been a freelance handyman and doing all sorts of home repair work.
Yeah. So what got you, did somebody do that? Were you around people that did that growing up and you got into that originally?
Yeah, well, my father was a carpenter, so.
Oh.
And
cool.
Did sometimes go to the job sites with him now and then, because he'd put in extra hours on weekends and that. Sometimes when nobody else was at the job site, or, I'd go there and it'd be like, him and an electrician. So, I'd get to learn a bit about what some of the other tradesmen were doing.
Nice. That's awesome. That's a good play. That's a good way.
And just
didn't even have anything like that growing up. Like, we just knew a bunch of farmers, I could plant some fucking corn though. So no, that's good that you got that experience. And I know you did that for up until recently, right? When your body started giving you hell.
Well, actually, I did that until I moved, and that was only because 2 weeks after we moved was the first COVID lockdown. So I'm in a new city with no customer base, and nobody wants a stranger in their house.
Right, because COVID.
Yeah, so
that was just
after
bad
the whole
luck.
COVID thing is done, I'll pick up some side jobs here, but I'm mostly retired at this point. And with COVID, I kind of built up my online stuff more, so I get more steady income from that and selling stuff on eBay and mostly Bricklink, about selling Legos and through a site called Bricklink, which handles nothing but Lego.
Huh. Well, that's cool. That's awesome. Have you ever thought about, I used to, when I first, every time I started up 2 painting companies, right? And every time I did it, I went down to, I learned on the first one, I went down to the local realty companies and asked if any of them wanted like, hey, call me and I'll come paint, a house for you to get it ready for sale. Or I can come repair stuff or, whatever. And then they would tell the homeowner, hey, get this person, here's their card. They're really fast and good. And then the homeowner would hire us to come in and do a quick paint job or something like that. So that's actually a good avenue to go down, because if you find somebody that's in the upper tiers of that real estate agency, you're going to have work,
I never really got in with that, but what I had always done was that, I was always part of fringe communities of, being LGBT or pagan or whatever, so that was the kind of thing that I got a lot of work that way, because if people knew I was open to that stuff, they didn't have to worry about hiding their stuff when I came over, or, what books they had on their bookshelf and that type of thing.
Well, it's true, because people judge.
Yeah, once I got established in a community that people knew they didn't have to worry about that, then I pretty much get steady work that way.
Oh, that's good. Okay. Yeah, that's a good idea. Why not stick with it? Like, you could totally do that here. There's such a huge atheist community here. And these people I met some people this weekend. They are loaded. I mean, loaded. And they're just nobodies in this area. And there's people that are way richer than them. And I met some really rich people. And I was like, walking around their houses like, this is like a museum. I don't want to touch anything. Like, it was like that.
Yeah. Unfortunately, with the fringe communities, you don't run into a lot of people like that. And that's one of the problems my fiance and I had, was that we were always doing work for people who were more broke than we were. So it's like sometimes you feel guilty about charging them.
Yeah, I know. I used to give discounts for people with less money, or I'd say, hey, if you give me cash, I won't put it in, I won't charge you for taxes, and then I just won't put it down on my taxes. And I would do that for people with less money, just so, that sting of, because let's be honest, we all charge for the taxes we're going to pay on that job,
Yeah.
So I said, hey, we all do this. It's common practice. It's this much for materials, this much for labor. It's how we do it. It's a code, mathematical equation that we do. And so if you don't want me to put it down, you pay me in cash, and then you'll save blah blah blah. And they'd all go, fuck yeah, do it. I don't want to spend that extra $500 or $600 or whatever on taxes. So
no,
but that's
did
good.
A lot
good
of work
for
for barter. That I wound up getting like 6 vehicles in exchange for doing work on somebody's house. Not that you get a big selection of the vehicles that way, but it's like, yeah, I just needed something that would run. So
yeah, but you could sell those 5 and get one that's decent.
Well,
pretty nice.
Just sequential things, of just having one at a time, just to make sure I had a way to get to the job sites.
Oh, that's cool too. There's nothing wrong with barter. I think the barter system is really lost and should be brought back for, trade of goods, trade of services, kind of thing. I think it's a great way to go. So, anyway, so you did college, you went into doing that, and then I know that you have, been in a couple of long-term relationships that were interesting. So, do you want to tell us about those, if you're up for it?
Well, yeah, over 25 years, over the course of 4 relationships, I wound up helping raise nine kids, none of which were my own. They were all born before I met their mothers.
Yeah.
So, all done with that now, though. The youngest 2 are in college. Unfortunately, as relationships break up in that, even the kids wind up feeling they have to take sides. So most of them I don't hear from anymore. There's only 2 of them I hear from.
Yeah, and that's sad that we do that to the kids.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what, if somebody's shitting in a relationship, the kids get hurt. So, yeah. Well, I'm glad you still have the 2, though. That's great. That's great. So, let's see. You moved. Well, just tell everybody, because not everybody knows. You moved from where to where and how long ago?
Well, I originally grew up in the Chicago suburbs.
Okay.
When I finished my last 2 years of high school in the Upper Peninsula, Michigan, and then I wound up going to a tech school in Minneapolis.
Oh.
And yeah, then I was in Minnesota, right around the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul, for about 25 years. And then I met my fiance through an online chat room. So then I moved to New York, and I was with her for 6 years until she died. And then I got, having nowhere else to go, wound up going back to that same small town in Upper Michigan, just because having family there and, kind of trying to put things back together. And really felt I got trapped there. I had not intended to stay there that long because I, not just that I knew I wouldn't fit in, but I really had no interest in fitting in. And my family all had the attitude that, oh, you stay here a while, you'll get to like it. It's like, no, I don't want to like it. So, so then a bit over a year ago, I, found an apartment here in Minnesota again, and thanks to help of a bunch of people in our community that donated over $2,000 for a moving fund for us, that Slothroll and I were able to get back to Minnesota. But like I say, since then, it's been everybody dealing with the COVID. So,
yeah,
it's like big part of this was supposed to be to have a social life, but nobody's having a social life now. So, but, there's actually several hobby groups in Minneapolis, St. Paul that I helped start that are still running. So as soon as people get back to having group meetings, I'll be getting back into some of those.
Right. Yeah, I know people were telling me this weekend how much they had to do with the Zoom meetings. They would do Zoom lunches and Zoom dinners on the nights that they used to hang out, and they'd all get online together and eat and drink. And they were like, God, it sucks not being there, so they're all excited to be able to do that again.
There have been a lot of advantages to people doing things through Zoom that I hope are going to hang around.
Yeah.
One of the things is I could not find a suitable therapist anywhere in the city. So, the therapist I'm seeing, her closest office is 75 miles away.
Oh,
so, as long as I'm doing it through the Zoom, it's no big deal. I only had to so far drive down there once to, do a battery of testing.
Yeah.
So,
I think that Zoom stuff's gonna stick around for quite a while. I think people are going to, and possibly, still do it more often than like the doctor's offices, for instance.
yeah.
There's people that they don't feel good, from having COVID a year ago or whatever. So they do phone consults with them or whatever. So I think that's gonna hang around for a while. I think
I'm
it'll be
hoping that for
beneficial
the
because people
doctors and
can.
that, yeah.
Yeah, well, then you can have a doctor that's 2 cities away in 6 hours and still have somebody to take care of you.
Well,
If
and
we
just even
continue
if they're
that,
local, if they don't literally need the hands-on, just if it's easier than having everybody going through the building and,
yeah,
just
oh,
not driving
absolutely,
back and forth.
right,
Although I'm
absolutely.
realizing that one of the things is I've got no idea what a normal traffic pattern for the city is going to be like.
Oh yeah,
Because, well, St. Cloud is home to 2 major colleges that we've got St. Cloud State and a branch of the University of Minnesota here, which have not
I
been in
didn't know
session
that.
the whole time we've been here. So it's like somewhere between 20 and 30% of the normal residents haven't been here the entire time we've lived here.
Oh, so it's been nice and quiet.
Yeah, it's been quiet so far, and I'm wondering what's going to happen when the colleges are back with their full sessions.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, it's honestly the traffic patterns haven't changed that much here. Rush hour go both times a day is busier. So now I just go around the main strip and it like I go 2 miles out of my way and save a 10-minute drive. I mean, it's not bad though.
Yeah.
Like you can drive from one side to the other of the city in like 20 minutes and hit every red light. Every single red light, make it in 20 minutes. So I can't even complain. So.
Well, and St. Cloud's a much smaller city, so, it's not like I expect traffic to ever be a real problem. That you don't really have to get on the highway for anything in the city. You only have to get on the highway to go to the next city over.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Well, cool. The only other question I had for you, because you and Sloth Girl have been friends for so long, how did you guys meet? And how did that transpire? Because I know you guys are a big part of each other's lives. So.
Yeah, literally all her life. That her mother babysat for me when she was pregnant with her.
Oh,
so we literally grew up together and all that.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's amazing.
Well, I was living in the northern Chicago suburbs. Her family was living in Kenosha, Wisconsin, which is really only like a bit over an hour away.
Right.
So yeah.
That's awesome. Wow.
So yeah,
that's
we
like
have
a really long friendship.
And strange history.
Yeah, I mean
we've had a couple of periods where we had lost track of each other for a couple of years, but somehow we always wound up running into each other again.
Yeah, that's amazing. I had a friend like that. We met when, because she's 9 months older than me. So we met in the summer before she turned 6 and I was 5. Mm-hmm. And we were friends for a long time. Then we moved away and then we moved back to the area. When I was in high school, we became friends again and then moved away. And after my mom passed away and I moved to Florida and all that. And then we found each other again. And I was just like, oh, this is going to be amazing. I moved to Ohio and, to where she lived and everything. And she had a half empty nest because half the kids had been gone. And so I moved into that and became part of the family. And I thought it was going to be great. And then she said to me that she didn't think that gay people should be allowed to be married. And she's still really old fashioned country. And so I walked away, enough of that. So no, that's amazing though, that you two have been friends that long.
Well, we needed to have separate apartments, but figure the ideal situation is separate apartments in the same building because we can't actually live together, but checking on each other.
Yeah, which you guys have been doing a lot since you moved. Yes. Which is great.
Like 5 nights a week, we wind up having dinner together.
Yeah. It's good to have that extra sister, I like having the extra sister. I have a couple, like one really, really good friend who's like that and has my back no matter what. And it's amazing. So yeah, that's great. All right, Purple, any final thoughts before I throw you out and bring the next one up?
Yeah, I'm sure I'll think of something while you're talking, but
we'll have the space at the end too with both of you up here. So, all right, well, let's get Purple out of here and get our next guest up. And I'm very excited, you guys, because I've never had this guest on my channel. and I've watched her for like 2 years now, and I've always loved her. So I'm very excited about this. This is like a B win. Ready? Scientist Mel.
Hello. Thanks
How
for
are
having me on the
you?
show. I'm good.
Yay. I'm so excited. I've never got to really just bullshit with you ever. So
This will be fun. This will be a lot
yeah,
of
and then
fun.
you're gonna like me, and you'll come back sometime, and we'll get
Sure.
down some open mics. Yeah. Well, you know, fingers crossed on my end. No, but I'm just kidding. So Mel, same question for you. Tell us about growing up, family dynamic, siblings, blah blah blah.
Oh my gosh. I have a brother and a sister. I'm the eldest of the three.
Okay.
A big portion. Well, I won't say a big portion. My parents split when I was about 12, 13 years old. And I started babysitting my brother and sister about the age of 10 because my mom had to start working because my dad was just blowing money on all kinds of questionable things.
Just so do we have the same father?
Maybe. Some of it was illegal.
No.
Yeah, some of it was illegal. And he was super hyper religious, and he was always the music minister at the church, but he was getting around. We had to like move to different churches because he wouldn't stop sleeping with people there. So yes, I know. Isn't that
really
nice?
Serious? See, my dad was more consistent. Once he got out of the Navy, he just cheated on one woman with my mom.
I think she froze. It's still going, but I think she froze. So it's all right. I'll hang out here until she gets back. So how are you guys doing in the side chat? I think you guys can see me still. Let me say. Can you still see me? Because if you can, oh, okay, she's frosted. Oh no. Okay, that's all right. So yeah, so it was really awkward. Okay. Yeah, she was mentioned having problems with that. All right. B will be back shortly. And in the meantime, I don't want to talk too much about answering the questions because B will want to know. They will want to know those answers. So, how many times did we move? That's a good question. Changed churches, I believe, twice. Quit going to the last one. Is that a real original Pac-Man game behind me? It's not a real original. It's one of those smaller ones that you can get, and you can actually hang it on your wall. It's a lot smaller than what it looks. Tell you about science. Well, I have been. B is back.
Like, see, I don't know what's going on. Twice tonight and kicked me off, and early it happened before I got on. So,
it's okay.
I don't know what's going on.
Answering.
Disappear, but keep talking.
Okay. Yeah, maybe just the audio will work for a little bit. Are you there?
No, it's not the internet. It's literally my power dipped. Yeah,
Ouch.
I'm here. Can people hear me?
Yes. I can hear you. So
I'm sorry. I finally get Mel on. This is what happened. Coming back.
It's okay.
Mel is never coming back now. That's what's going on.
No, it's all right. Stuff happens, man. You've seen my streams.
Honestly, I saw my brother right before I started my stream, so I think he's over there working on that house, and he might not know that I'm streaming right now. So then he's got like big, heavy power tools. So that might be what's going on. Anyways,
might be it.
Carry on where you were. Go ahead.
Oh, yes. So yeah, we ended up changing churches twice. And my dad is I don't know if he still is. I haven't talked to the man since 1999, I think. It's been since 1999. That's the last time I had a conversation with him. And he was a very gifted musician. He could play 7 instruments. We used to have like little jam sessions in the living room. We would just take turns playing different instruments. We'd play specific chords. Sometimes we would play a guitar. Sometimes I'd play the drums. Sometimes I'd play the keyboard. And so my family has a lot of performance background, which is not something
awesome.
So we would put on shows because we were poor. Well, after my dad started blowing his money on, let's just say hookers and blow, just say that because he was
right.
That and if he wanted to blow his money on that, that's fine. But he wasn't getting us food or paying the rent or doing anything like that. So my mom had to start working. And that's when we just, we started to grow up on fish sticks and mac and cheese. And so my mom, single parent, 3 kids in the house, part-time. Well, no, she had a full-time job. It was minimum wage and she worked primarily on commission. And so we just had 5 channels. We didn't have cable, even though cable was a thing. We couldn't afford it. So we just wrote plays and put them on in our living room.
We used to do stuff like that. We acted out the night before Christmas poem every Christmas Eve.
Oh my goodness.
We would do like, you could hear nothing but the mouse. And somebody was like acting like a mouse going across the living room. Like we just did stupid shit like that growing up. We played games a lot, like card games and life all the time.
We didn't actually act out any plays. Sometimes we would act out musicals like Grease because we knew them front to back because we had a VHS of it. And so like on car trips, like road trips, we would all play a different role. And so we would just recite the entire film front to back, that and Annie and all kinds of other stuff.
God, that's awesome.
We're nerds.
You know what? I'm going to tell you, though, there's something to be said for growing up poor. Because I swear to God, everybody I know that grew up poor has they're more inventive. They have a better imagination. You can create stuff because you're so bored. Like when I was growing up, it was a stick. I'm like, I got my stick for the day. I'm going to play with this all day.
I would dig a hole.
My brothers won't let me play with their G.I. Joes. I'm going to play with the stick today with the 3 leaves.
I was trying to be like, I went through a phase where I was trying to be fashionable. So I'd go like in the front yard and dig a hole and have a mud bath. And I'm like, I'm in like fancy land, giving myself like a legitimate mud mask, just coating myself in mud. Me and my sister would do that. And then my mom would come home and be like, okay, let me get the hose and hose you down before you can come in.
That's amazing. But
we would do that, because we were poor. And then we got better at it. We decided that we were just going to have a fake company called Luxury Baths Incorporated. And we would put on our swimsuits and we would take turns having luxury baths and serving each other snacks and stuff. And we had a pretend phone that we would talk to celebrities on.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, hello, John Denver. How's the Rocky Mountains?
You doing all right today? And we would have like fake appointments that we would take. Oh, John Travolta's coming in next week. Oh, really? How's he doing? And we would just make up a whole story.
Yeah.
We were just like that.
That's great. So, at what point did you say, science interests me a lot? With growing up with that, my cats are going crazy right now after a fly. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
After going through that, I just warn people, you might see a cat fly by. After going through the musical creative part of you, what part led you? Because you think you go into music or plays or something, but then you ended up in science. So what pointed you in that direction?
It was really hard because when I started going to college, I was a double major, theater and science. And people looked at me like I was crazy.
Because you were.
I've always liked science, but I grew up in a very fundamental, super conservative family. and my parents, they always bought me like Barbie dolls. And I wanted like, can I have a microscope? Can I have like a chemistry set? And when I finally got a chemistry set, I was so happy, but I didn't get one until I was a teen. And by then you're kind of like, this isn't nearly as cool, you know,
This
as it
would have been really cool when I was 8 to 10.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, and so I wanted all those things. And they're like, oh, you like science? Here's Barbie astronaut. And I did not know how to play with Barbies. I didn't. And so I would just act out like my mom's soap operas, because we would sit around and watch that. I'm like, okay, so maybe that's how I play with Barbies. I want to have them act like that. And it freaked her out and she's like, why are they? They're kissing and in bed. I'm like, yeah, just like the show you watch, Mommy. And she's like, okay. I really didn't know how to play with those. So I had like astronaut Barbie and Dr. Barbie, and I'm like, what am I doing?
That's way better than I did.
I
gotta
just
say that's awesome.
But when I really wanted to get into research. And my mom was like, you really should be a nurse. You really should be a nurse. You really should be a nurse because you'll always have a job. And then I got into nursing. I got all the way into clinicals. And I failed on purpose. I actually failed my courses on purpose. So my mom would think I was too stupid to be a nurse. And it worked. She's like, that was just too hard for me. I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm going to go over to university and just get a science degree. You know,
because that's easier than nursing.
It's so
I mean, I guess maybe at the lower levels, but once you get no, not really.
It's
not really.
I mean, I couldn't stand the way that doctors treated nurses, and I couldn't stand the way that nurses treated student nurses. And I thought, I don't want to grow up and be that. This is terrible. Right. These people, and maybe it was where I was, but people were so jaded. There was a nursing instructor who looked at me and said, I'll go ahead and pass you for clinicals, but I'm making a note that I don't like the way you make a bed. Like, you are really this petty? I don't like the way you make a bed. I'm like, you know, really? I thought, no,
my goodness.
It has so little to do with, and it's just a nightmare. And I'm like, I'm way more doctor oriented than I am this stuff, because I don't want to touch people anyway. Really don't like bodily fluids. And there is a woman who had broken both of her hips. She could only lie on her back. And she was so distended. She had like a swollen stomach. And nobody could figure out what it was. We thought she just had really bad gas. And so I tried to give her an enema, but you can't roll her over. So I tried to give her an enema, and it went in the wrong spot. Little too high while she was lying on her back.
So she had a good douche, and then what happened?
She was like, woo! I'm like, okay then. I said, I'm very sorry.
God. That is hilarious. That sounds like something I would do.
So
I was interested in like nursing and stuff, but I didn't want to. I can't wipe I don't even want to wipe my own ass.
Yeah.
Never mind someone. Shit is gross.
It's gross. And then the stupid nurses. I'm sorry. I shouldn't say stupid nurses. The mean nurses. If they knew student nurses were coming in the next shift, they wouldn't take care of the patients. They would just let the catheter bags fill up to where it was backing up in the line.
Student nurses will get it. And then when you go to try to drain a catheter bag that's about to burst with the line backing up to the urethra, you're like, it's like a dozen rotten eggs smell. And you just start going, the whole time wanting to gag. And I'm like, no, man. Nah, I'm done. I didn't mind surgery. I didn't mind blood. But the stuff that comes out of orifices, nope. I'm done. And so I went back to, was like, forget it. I could be a nurse in less than a year. And they would actually accept all of my credits still, because they want nurses that badly. Yeah. You know, so I'm just like, no, I
don't
Yeah.
want to touch people. And so I was in and out of college a lot and didn't actually finish my first degree until 2011.
Oh shit.
I know. My first degree was 2011, and I hadn't had chemistry in about 10 years.
So you wanted to be one of those student lifers for like 15 years? I mean,
yeah,
student,
well, you know, it's like
lifer student or whatever they call it.
the last course I had taken was in 99, and I had to move due to life circumstances and all that, and it was just a hot mess. So when I did go back, because I had dropped a couple of times because of family stuff and stuff going on, and it just was too hard. But when I went back, because I had like a year of F's because I dropped out a couple of times, my GPA was a 1.9. When I went back and I was able to actually focus on the work, the first semester I had nothing but straight A's. So
wow.
And I knew, I was like, I can do this, because I had been told by teachers, I had been told by my grandparents growing up that I would just never be a scientist. I'm a girl, you know. I had an English teacher told me I was too
Can I ask you how old you are?
Oh, I don't say that. I like to keep it. I'll tell you privately.
Like 70s or 80s?
Oh, I'm not 70 or 80.
No, you were born in the 70s or the 80s. No. Were you
I'm
born
right
in the 70s or 80s?
I'm right on the cusp of Gen X and millennial.
Okay,
So
fair enough. So you're still in that old-fashioned mindset where girls have to be nurses and administration.
Yeah, so I was brought up that way, and I had an English teacher told me I was too stupid to be a nurse or in science. An English teacher.
Yeah.
It was just terrible. I was completely discouraged from doing that growing up. Nobody would give me the science stuff. They'd only give me Barbies. And, you know, my family, even like my mom, she just did not believe I could do any of that. And so when you have that reinforced constantly and over again, you're like, well, maybe I can't do this. And then when I figured out that I could, nobody could stop me then. I'm like, I'm going to pick up this degree. Let me go get a master's. I'm going to get it in teaching. All right. Now I'm going to get a second undergrad in science, this time biochemistry, because why not? And I'm like, now I'm going to go and get a master's in chemistry, because why not?
You know what? Just give me the list.
Just
give me the list of your degrees. We got time. Go ahead.
Okay. My first degree was in biology, undergrad in biology. I did genetic research for almost 2 years with working on the Tree of Life project, mapping the genome of the ladybug. And then I also did undergrad research in genetics with zebrafish. That guy was a dick. I'm going to just say I did. And I passed just fine doing the undergrad research. And he looked at me and he was like, science is hard and you're a girl. You should be a teacher. He would not write me a letter of recommendation for anything except teaching. And I'm like, okay. So after I got my degree, I got kind of forced into teaching high did that, which was, I'm okay at teaching. I'm pretty good at it, but that's not 100% what I wanted to do. And so then I got the Master's of Arts in Teaching, specialized in secondary science education. And my research for that was linking content mastery to content interest. So I found a way to teach that hit 4 different types of personalities. Lubinsky's 4 personalities. There are certain people who are creative. There are people who are very hands-on. There are people who are talky types. And then you have people who are problem solvers. And so modifying my instruction to try to target all 4 of those personalities.
Damn, where were you when I was in school? Oh, never mind. You're much younger than me. Never mind. I know where you were. You were in diapers and shit.
But it's funny. So that was what my research was on, and nobody had managed to quantify that before. And so I looked at previous history of students on state tests, asked them, do you like science? What are the things that you like? So I found that if they were able to choose their own assignments and show me what they know in their chosen form of media, they did really well. They actually
That's
performed
excellent.
like
That blows my mind.
30% better.
Man.
So that was that. And then I got the biochem undergrad while I was still teaching high school. Because I only needed three or four classes to complete that degree. So I was like,
Yeah.
sure. And then I was offered an opportunity to get a master's at the university working as a grad student. And that's when I did some cancer research. I helped develop a breast cancer test. It's a miniaturized device, and it was doing 3D printing and stuff. And so I helped engineer the part to where we had the isolation of the individual samples, and come to find out it's
Wow.
like way more sensitive than the current gold standard. So that was pretty cool, and did some computational chemistry. Then I worked in industry for a little while and hated it. Like, y'all don't want to pay me what I'm worth, and this is crap. So
Yeah.
then I went back to teaching. I taught high school another year. So I've taught high school a total of 5 years, and now I'm currently teaching college chemistry.
Right.
It's a community college. People are like, it's a community college. I'm like, yeah, but 70% of the people who go there are poverty line.
Yeah,
So-
you know, you're helping people. People don't
Yes.
understand that. They want to go, oh, well, it's not Harvard or it's not Northwestern or it's not. Yeah, but fuck that. There's a lot of people that are brilliant that can't afford to go to those schools, and they're hoping that professor at the community college is going to give them a good education. So good for you.
And
Absolutely.
so it's a teaching institution. I'm not required to do research to keep my job. You go to another, one of those super awesome universities, those professors are required to do research to keep their job. Teaching is secondary. They're not nearly as invested in their students as a teaching institution. And so if you're in my class, you're going to work, but you're going to learn it. You're going to learn it, and I'm going to help you. But yeah, 70% of our students are poverty line. Most of them are in marginalized groups. So trying to get that gap of education where, standard white kids tend to do really great, but brown and black kids don't do so great. So I work in trying to shorten that gap to try to help them be more successful.
Can I just tell you, I have to say something here. So my mom was a teacher.
Oh, okay.
My mom went into nursing, decided she couldn't take a patient dying because she was too soft-hearted.
Yeah.
And switched over into teaching science. Mm-hmm. And so she taught me a part of my 7th grade year when she was an intern. And then all of my 9th grade year and half of my 10th before I had to move to a different school district. Because we had moved, and that's a long, complicated story. But anyways, she was just amazing and encouraged everybody. And like, if we looked out the window and saw a deer, she'd go, okay, everybody's looking at the deer. Let's study the deer.
Yeah.
Let's everybody go to the window. I'll be right back. She'd go and get some binoculars from the other teachers. Here, everybody look at the deer. Let's talk about the deer. How old do you think the deer is? What kind of deer is that? So she'd just make it into a lesson if the class got distracted, So
that's great.
She would love you. She would have loved you. I'm telling you. She would be like, oh my God, I need to hang out with her. Like, that would be amazing.
Awesome. I had one. That's the one thing I do kind of miss. The school that I taught at, not the last high school. Oh my goodness. I don't even want to talk about that. It was one of the top high schools in my state, and so much entitlement. I'm just like, I didn't want that. The farm kids that I was teaching evolution to, I had way more fun with them because for a period of time, after a while, I had a lot of microscopes. I had better stuff at the freaking farm kids school than I did at one of the top schools in the state. And I'm like, this is garbage.
Well, that's because the farm kids school is smaller. They can afford to do that for that number of children because they don't overbook the school with too many freaking kids and not enough teachers. That's why.
And so one of the, and see, they kind of let me, when my students started performing really well, I was teaching Bio 1 and Bio 2. My Bio 2 classes were really small, and I gave them hard content. but they got it down. But for a while, I would just tell them, okay, guys, so let's look at some spider eyeballs, because I happened to find a spider earlier that day and I euthanized it in some alcohol. And I'm like,
Right.
and somebody, one of the kids asked me, they're like, how did you get the eyeballs off the spider? I said, I left it on the spiders.
But there's spiders right there with eyeballs.
So they thought that I went in and I like popped out spider eyeballs to put it on a slide to look. And no, I had one of those stereo microscopes where you could just put the spider underneath and look at it, and you could see all the intricacies on it. And so kids just started bringing me bugs to kill in class. Oh my goodness, that was fun. But the last high school I was at, the moment I got offered a job to teach college chemistry, I'm like, peace out. I'm on a professor track now. Y'all just chill. Right. See you around, man. And
that's great though, and then you got to go back and look at, like you were saying, growing up poor versus growing up rich. Would you care as much about those poor kids if you'd grown up rich? I think it happened exactly how it was supposed to for you.
I think so too. And that's one of the things that I bring up, particularly in the class. I'm like, guys, I went back to college as an adult. My life experience is different from yours. But man, mac and cheese and freaking fish sticks and some French fries. That's what we ate at home because that's what we could afford. So I came up from meager stuff. I even tell them the story about the stupid professors that gatekeep and all that. I'm like, okay, so get ready for this. I'm just letting you know this stuff still exists and I will help you in whatever way I can.
Right. All right, I'm going to let Mel take a deep breath, and I'm going to bring Purple back up here so we can all BS. And if you guys have any questions for each other, now will be the time. And if anybody on the chat has any questions, throw them up there. You don't have to tag me. Just put whoever you're asking the question to, and I can ask them that question. So welcome back, Purple.
Hello.
Excellent. Well, this is fun so far. I love getting to know people. Maybe it's just me, but maybe, I don't know.
Okay, and I've been throwing this out there for, a couple of years that I've known Mel, that everybody, we need to do a mass letter writing campaign to Netflix to give Mel her own series so she can be the next Bill Nye.
No, she wouldn't be. She'd be much better than Bill Nye. I don't even agree with that. I'm sorry. I do not agree with that. Bill Nye is dry. That's why Nye is dry. It rhymes.
Yeah.
But I think 70% of that is personality, and Mel has a great personality and character and cares about people, and that's always helpful. So yes, we should all do that. Everybody write Netflix. Say, well, I want Scientist Mel, the cam girl for science. No, don't use that part.
Link to her YouTube channel so they can go and sample some of her shows and see how good she is with us.
It's funny. At one point in time, I was contacted by a casting director from Disney about doing a show on science superheroes, and I didn't hear back. I'm like, and I checked them out. They were totally legit. And I sent it to friends. I'm like, is this person just screwing with me, or is this
that would have been cool.
Yeah, but at least it's floated around. I've had some interest in like a walk-on type of role on an HBO series. There is a guy who was writing one of those, and I was going to like a smaller role as like a lab tech in a crime scene lab. So people know about me. I just haven't been like gung-ho. So
okay, some questions. Sure. Mel, I got questions. Okay, so the first one is Star Wars or Star Trek?
I like them both. But I have, all those Star Wars breaks physics a lot. Star Trek does a little bit. But I get more intellectual engagement from Star Trek. And then with Star Wars, it's more of like the story thing and nostalgia.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of like that with Star Wars too. I was always more of a Trek fan, but the first drive-in movie we ever went to when I was a kid was the original Star Wars movie. And it came out and it hit the drive-in like a week after it hit the cinemas or something like that. And we went We all piled into mom's station wagon, and it cost her like $3, and we went to the movie, and it was the most fun I had ever had at that age. So I always have fondness. There you go.
And I do have a lightsaber.
Oh, there you go. That was the other one.
Mace Windu's back here somewhere. It's purple. I have his lightsaber. It's somewhere back here. I don't know where it is. I did talk about the science of lightsabers at one point in time. Can't happen. Can't happen.
Can't happen. Yeah. Well, the problem is that there's nowhere for it to end, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, not only that.
I'm just asking. I know nothing about science. But when I
just
first saw them, I thought it doesn't coil around. Where's it end?
Yeah, right. If it's a beam of light, there's nothing to limit the length of it.
Right. There would have to be something to either refract it back and make it continuous, or something to stop it.
And also the power supply, you'd have to carry it on your back, and it'd be like crazy heavy.
Maybe they do. They're Jedi. Maybe you don't know that they do it. No, I'm kidding.
Maybe. See, that's the thing about Star Wars. You can just throw everything out the window. Yeah. It's the
channel
Force.
Power through the Force.
Yeah.
The Force.
They're tapping it remotely mentally.
Right. Julie said, what's your best running into a student after they were no longer in your class story?
I don't know. I have run into some students before, but I've had a lot of them. I did run into a student recently. They're actually a manager at a hotel, and she was in my very first biology class. Boy, that was rough. I only taught at that school 1 year, and then I moved to a different one and was way better. She looked at me and she said, I thought I recognized you. It's the hair. And I'm like, yes, how are you? She's like, I'm doing great. And she's like, you know what? What do you do? And I told her, I teach college chemistry now. She's like, well, good for you. And she's like, I learned more in your class than I did with any other teacher. And you know what? Those kids were not nice to you. And you deserve to teach at college, and you deserve to be happy. And I'm like, oh, I'm so glad you learned stuff. That's the goal.
Yeah. But that's great. And that's when you sucked as a teacher, you're saying, and she liked you that much.
The first year. Yeah. So even though I was having problems with classroom management, trying to get student engagement, honestly, just the experience of being in a classroom was way more beneficial than getting a master's degree in it. But I was required to get one in order to teach, even though I already have an undergrad degree. My undergrad degree was in education. I could just take a test in whatever I want to teach, and then they would let me teach it.
Right.
It's
Purple,
crazy.
That's a good question for you, Purple. Did you ever have that like one teacher that really influenced you, and you like saw him later and, were like, oh my God, I know you. Did you ever have that one teacher?
Not one that I ran into after I was out of school, no. But there were definitely a couple of teachers that had particular influence on me. Awesome. My 8th grade English teacher that actually got me into writing.
Oh, okay.
Just because about the only teacher at that point who ever gave me any encouragement to do anything.
Right. I was lucky enough that teacher was my mom, but man, she grilled us all the way to school and back every day.
Well, when I was going to school, nobody had heard of autism yet, so they knew I was weird. They didn't know why, and just wrote me off as being a classic underachiever.
Oh, See, I had that problem with my ADD because, your ADD, if you're not focused on a subject, if you're not interested in it, you're like squirrel, and people thought I didn't care and I wasn't paying attention, and I got paddled in grade school, and I got in-school suspension, out-of-school suspension when I was in junior high and high school, and I kept getting into trouble, and we just didn't know why, There was no explanation for it. I just thought I was like, oh, I have these brilliant older brothers and sisters who, like 2 of them, if they got an A-, it was like a 2-week crying session in their bed, Like, oh my God, I got an A-. I'm a failure. And I'm over here going, I got a C. Fuck you,
Yeah. C's get degrees, man.
Well, I don't know about that. I never did that shit. And then I was never focused enough to go to college, and we didn't know why, because nobody knew what fucking ADHD was back then. Yeah. So, and then I found out recently that one of my brothers, speaking of which, I found recently one of my brothers was diagnosed years ago with autism as an adult. And we didn't know all that time because you don't know, we didn't know back then. Like you're saying, we didn't have any he's 6 years older than me. So he's 50. He just turned 56 this year. And he found out like 15 years ago that he's high functioning autism. And I'm like, oh my God, that makes so much sense. I mean, it just blows your mind when you find out that about somebody that you grew up with him and you're like, why was he so weird growing up? Like nobody else was like that. You know what I mean? And you just don't understand it. You don't know why. We were all so different, but yet so alike. But why is he that different? We kind of like loved him anyways and never could figure it out. But modern science, right? Everybody think Mel. As far as that. Well, no, seriously, everybody out there that came up with one little piece of something and said, this is interesting. Like you were talking about doing stuff for breast cancer, that little piece, it all adds up and then it's a big thing. Yeah. So everybody takes, and that's the beauty of science. Like this scientist in China thought of this, and everybody's like, oh my God, that relates to what I'm doing. And now I could do this, and that guy's going to do this. And now, it's like a community effort. So
it is.
Julie, that was how it was for my dad and brother with ADHD. My brother was called hyperactive and lazy, but yes. Yeah, exactly. Yes. I had that problem. I got spanked a lot and I got into fights a lot. And, if we would have known, if I would have been medicated, but when I was like 5 or 6, if we would have known back then, I honestly don't even know what I could be right now, because it's like my mother said, every time me and my 2 youngest brothers, we would start getting rough in school and we weren't paying attention, we weren't interested or whatever, she'd say, there's no reason for this. All of my children are intelligent. And we go, we're not smart. We're not as smart as those 2 up there. Like, no. But I mean, I just think that, we just didn't know. There's so many things you don't know. We just
didn't. Everybody is now saying, well, there's a rise in autism. There's a rise in autism. You're like, no.
No, it's because we know what the fucking symptoms are now, dumbasses.
Yes. We have testing available.
Yeah, we have testing.
As young as 18 months.
Well, and just that the internet makes information available to people. Because actually, I had to self-diagnose when I was in my 30s. And it's only from reading stuff on the internet that I figured it out. But then I took that to my therapist and he was like, yeah, we probably should have figured that out earlier. Yeah. And I showed the test results to like everybody who had known me for more than 2 years. And the universal response was, oh, that explains a lot.
Yeah. Well, and that's like with me, before I knew that I was ADHD, I didn't really know that much about it in the early 2000s, right? I was watching an Ellen DeGeneres stand-up, and in the stand-up, she says, I know I'm ADD because I don't have the patience or the focus to go down and be tested to find out if I'm ADD. Like, I just can't even do that. And I started laughing, and I went, oh my God. And I started thinking about it. Me and my girlfriend started discussing it. And I went online and did a test, and it was like unanimous. You are so fucking ADD. And I was like, and that's just a generic test. I went and did another test. You are so fucking ADD. And I was like, this explains so much about my life. I used to irritate people because I was always interrupting because my brain was constantly going. And I used to talk like this all the time. And I go, but you don't understand. That chair I had, that chair was amazing. It had the strongest legs. And speaking of strong legs, did you hear about that Nike guy, the guy that is subscribed with Nike now, and he's an Olympic guy? Oh my God, he's amazing. I don't even know how he runs that. Fact, speaking of running, did you see the dog that, I mean, like this, that's how my mind constantly was going. And I had to go, and it feels so much better now. Just, I'm not even medicated for the ADD, but just knowing more about myself and how to control things better and having like my PTSD stuff under control, man, I feel like a million. Hi, Amy.
We're all gonna like that too, about like making a lot of random connections. And I remember one particular day with my ex that I had gone from pizza to funerals in less than one sentence.
Yeah, yo. So you did anybody do this to you? This is what my mom used to do to me growing up. Purple. Tell me if this sounds familiar. I would say something, and she would, and in my mind, I went there fine, right? And she'd go, whoa, wait. We were talking about tomatoes. And now you're talking about tractor tires. How the hell did you go from tomatoes to tractor tires? And I go, well, Mom, I thought about the tomatoes, and I thought about the sandwiches, and I thought about the bread, and then I thought about how you have to get the bread, and you have to get, wheat, and then wheat went to equipment, and how you have to harvest the wheat, and then I remembered our tractor tires flat.
Yeah.
And she'd go, oh, okay, go ahead. Now I know where you're at.
Yeah, we were having pizza, and the pizza had black olives, but olives are also sometimes green.
Yes.
And Kermit the Frog is green. And Jim
Very
Henson
much like
had died like 2 weeks before that, so I was on funerals.
Oh, wow.
Well, there you see, exactly. That's how I do. Oh, man, sweetheart, I get you. We're like this. I get you. I totally get you. So, everybody, I know you're all subbed to me, so I don't have to tell you where to find the link to the after party, because I know you're all subbed, right? Right. Okay, so everybody go over there. As soon as I get over there, I will throw a link up so anybody can join the panel that they want to. You two can, I would love for you both to come, honestly, if you can. That
okay. I can hang out for a little while.
Yeah,
I have to
okay,
leave
cool.
at 7:30 in the morning.
I get lucky sometimes, and I pick people that mesh well together. So I'm glad that I picked you two in the same stream. So
yeah, I've been on with Purple before.
Yeah, I know. I know you and Purple kind of know each other. Yeah, better, better than you know me. So here you go. Now you've met the craziness in the family here of the atheist community. So everybody in the chat, thank you so much for coming. I love you guys, and I always appreciate support. You know that, and I can't even tell you how much it means to me. Mel and Purple, thank you so much for coming in and sharing who you are. That's what I'm trying to do here. I want people to get to know the content creators, who they are in the background and who they really are, not just the content. We all know the content you put out. We all know your opinions, but we don't know who you are and where you got those opinions from. So that's why I want to do this. And I want to connect more people and get our whole community a little bit more tight knit, and we got each other's backs and we know who each other are. And love you too, Amy. So I'm going to end this stream, and I will see you guys at the after party. I put that up at the same time. I'll throw it on Twitter as well, just in case somebody isn't subscribed to me. Bad person. So if I don't see whoever does not come to the after party, take care of yourselves, take care of one another, and have peace in your life.